This video was made possible by viewers like you who decided on backing me on Patreon. I thank you so much for your continued support. Fuck it. I've spent about a couple of hours trying to write out the script for this. I have spent even longer trying to figure out what the hell I just played. And you know what? I've been staring at Adobe Audition for for days now, trying to figure out what am I going to say? How do I feel about this game? I haven't been this frustrated beating something, a game or period, since Life is Strange. And this DLC for The Witcher has thrown me into that same circle. And this is what I think about Blood and Wine for Witcher 3. I hate it so much that I love it. I know I am contradicting myself. I'm making no sense. For me to explain exactly this whole DLC in a nutshell, obviously I'm going to be hitting major spoilers. I don't want to start at the beginning. I want to start at the end, because I feel that the end is crucial for you to understand everything that's happened. Blood and Wine has 3 endings. Each of them are very different from the other, and I think that due to the ability to have a different ending, people will interpret Blood and Wine differently. What I'm about to tell you, what I feel like I got out of Blood and Wine, will be different from somebody who got a different ending, but I'm going to simplify these endings for you. But basically there's 3 results that I know of. There could be more secret endings, but I'm positive there's 3 types of ways that the main quest for Blood and Wine ends. The first one is what I call, quote unquote, the happy ending. It's basically where the Duchess and her sister Sylvana, they reconcile and, they live, quote unquote, happy ever after to learn through their differences and forgive each other. Your fairy tale ending, all is happy. Geralt leaves with the people praising him and so forth. The city is united and blah, blah, blah. Happy Disney ending. The second ending is tragedy. This is the ending where Sylvana never forgives her sister for the hardship that she was dealt as a kid, and she ends up killing her. And as a result, she gets killed as well. So the 2 sisters basically kill each other. This is a very Hamlet type of ending where it's the tragedy ending. And the final one is where the Duchess Anna lives, but Sylvana dies. And this is kind of like a middle ground sort of ending. To understand exactly why this DLC has been so complicated for me to figure out is I got tragedy. My ending was not this happy-go ending. It was not this ending that made me feel good and made Geralt feel good. It stayed true to what Witcher 3's theme has always been about. I feel like Witcher 3 has a lot of great themes, both philosophical and narrative-wise, but I feel like the main theme of Witcher 3 is the theme of being morally ambiguous, that there is no such thing as black and white, there's only gray, and these tough moral decisions and these consequences you get from them show you that even with good intentions, things don't always end the way you want them to. What Blood and Wine is challenging the thematic setup of Witcher 3. See, the base game of Witcher 3 takes place in this war-torn country. There's monsters, there's people dying. It's just a bunch of death and destruction. It's a endless cycle of humans creating monsters, monsters being slayed by Witchers, only for humans to create more monsters. It's this idea that humanity will be its own undoing and will create the monsters that will destroy itself. From just looking at the visuals, you can see that Blood and Wine is drastically different from the base game of Witcher 3. Toussaint is beautiful. There's no war-torn areas in Toussaint. Everything is beautiful, vivid, colorful. Everything is joyous, drinking, merriment, fucking. Like, that is what Blood and Wine is about. And it's the theme, it's the idea of just the name, Blood and Wine, how wine is red and it brings merriment and people are drinking, and celebrating. But at the same time, blood is very similar. They look very similar, that it's as if they are two sides of the same coin. Blood and Wine shows you this beautiful world and so forth, but you're brought in because there's this little blemish, and that's these murders. And mind you, when you're brought in, it's simply because there have just been 2 murders. Not a ton of people dying like in the base game, not evil that's, threatening the world. It's just 2 little murders, and they're hiring you just to find this killer. Of course, this whole mission of tracking down this killer becomes this huge web of conspiracy theories of who you can trust, who you can't trust, the dark history of the city, and how everything might look pretty on the surface, but there's still darker, evil undertones underneath. What starts as a luxurious visit to an amazing place, getting your own house, to participating in tournaments with knights and so forth, and valor, these things are mocked by Geralt and just seem out of place to just Geralt in general. And this is done on purpose. Witcher 3 is, in a way, the brutal truth of many folklore and fairy tales that you know of as a kid. It's this idea of, let's say, the story of Cinderella, where the Disney version of it, when you watch it as a kid, is all about this princess who wants to be free and wants to go to the ball. When you get older and you actually find out the original translation of Cinderella, it's actually very dark, and people are cutting off their heels in order to fit the shoes, and there's murder. It's actually very dark compared to the Disney version. And that's what Witcher is. Witcher is that dark, that gritty experience. That separation of theme is what makes Witcher stand out from a lot of the other fantasy-styled games, which are more high fantasy, and Witcher is more of this dark, realistic look at the fantasy genre, even at a lot of times poking fun at it. All these characters are about friendship and loyalty and valor, these embodiments of these virtues that good, morally right, and justice type characters uphold. Geralt laughs at them as nothing more than caricatures of what real life is actually like outside of Toussaint. Blood and Wine proves this, it challenges this, and that's why I personally feel that while the ending I got is tragic, it's sad, it's bittersweet, and it just makes the ending of Witcher 3 not feel good, it's right. It retains the message that everybody believes they're the hero. Nobody believes that they're the villain. Everybody believes that what they're doing is what's right, what needs to be done. In Blood and Wine, I thought what I was doing was right. I thought by doing what I needed to do to save Toussaint, to capture this killer, was right. And the game was ready to teach me this harsh truth. That when I found out who the killer was, he was being used. And discovering the Duchess's long-lost sister and just how evil I thought she was. I thought I was doing the right thing. And I thought that condemning Sylvana for the actions that she made, and even with her horrible past of her being abused and mistreated, it didn't justify the actions that she took. That by me doing that, by me condemning her, I didn't allow her a chance to open up, to maybe give her sister a second chance, or to open up to me. Instead, I hardened her heart. I made her hate me, and I made her hate her sister even more. I thought that calling her a snake and calling her what she really was, I thought that being savage was the right thing to do. I thought that telling her that she was a despicable human being was right. And when I realized that, when I visited their graves, I put a flower on both of them. I was sad that the Duchess died, and at the same time, I was sad for Sylvana. I realized that, was this what you wanted all along? Was this your end goal? Are you happy that you achieved it in death? And I realized, no, it wasn't. All Sylvana wanted was to be understood. And unfortunately, her parents failed her sister failed her, those knights failed her, and I failed her. All the actions we took instead of trying to understand the other side, to understand a person that does actions you don't agree with, there was a cost. But this time, the cost was way too high.
I so don't feel like going anywhere. Sit here a while longer?
So we shall, my friend. We have witnessed, and in fact on several occasions incited, many great and weighty events. After all that toil, I believe we deserve a bit of a rest.
That we do.